Hello and welcome back to the RattleMind Podcast. I'm Rye and I'm by myself today. Well, mostly. I don't know. But I have no real topics, but actually I do have a topic, which is weird. You know, I say I have no topics. Now I know I have a topic. My brain works in weird ways. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. But, alright, since I'm by myself today, I'm going to talk about something that I actually have knowledge of. I hate Blender. Deal with it. I'm talking about the 3D program, not the blenders that you put ice cream and fruit in and you make smoothies or whatever. And yeah, those things are awesome. But the program Blender, I know I've probably talked about it before. It's just not... Unless you have been using it your entire time of, 3D modeling and stuff like that, it is not intuitive to how to actually work it. I come from using Maya, and I hate how expensive it is. I really want to be able to use Blender, but I have to click on a vertices to then say I want to click on edges so that I can manipulate the edge or delete the edge, and then I still haven't figured out how to actually get the whole edge loop done, because I want to take out an entire edge loop most of the time when I click an edge. So you have to click a vertex to be able to click on the edge, and then you can click delete, but then you're still left with weird geometry. It frustrates me. Then I have another issue, is that, as you know, our little icon for this podcast is a human face. Yes, I know it's kind of male, but you know what? You deal with it. I'm a guy. With a screen on its face. It's a face. With the image of a rattle, because we're the RattleMind. Now, I was trying to make a 3D rattle of the exact same type as my avatar, or whatever you want to call it, the little emblem that I use. I would love to make a coin out of that just to say I have one, but that's a long ways away if I could ever do that. But I was trying to do that, and I realized there is no good way to use Booleans to connect the sphere to a cylinder to a tortoise. No, it's not a bowl. It's not a turtle. That is a messed up shape. The donut shape. There is no good way to connect the sphere to a cylinder to a donut. I would really like to know how to do that through Blender, but I really hate Blender. I mean, every time I open it, okay, I finally figured out how to get the correct things. Now I have to figure out, how do I get rid of these faces? Okay, I figured out that I have to click the vertex, and then I have to tell it to click faces, and then I have to click the face, and then delete it that way. Frustration. So, I spent like a good hour. Actually, I probably didn't. It was probably like a half an hour, and I just got so frustrated that I gave up. But I spent a good while of doing this. And yes, I know you can set up Blender so that it operates like Maya, which obviously that helped a lot because, being able to hit Alt and actually, alter where the camera position, the viewport camera, because there's cameras and then there's the viewport camera, and the viewport camera is not attached to the camera, and you can't 3D modeling is complicated. But by doing that, I finally figured out how to do that, got it into Maya control settings, so I could actually, click with Alt and then scroll around and actually pivot the thing around whatever central thing that I'm looking at, rather than how Blender did it, which was, if I remember right, because I always set it to the Maya settings now, but it used to be that you would just free float everywhere, and you could just move the camera to where your 2 miles in the southeast direction, and the object you're trying to work on is now purple. It's not actually purple, but I think in colors. Deal with it. And it is so far away that, you just see a purple speck. Now, how do I get back to that thing? Well, you got to go look up on Google or or on YouTube or something. Going, okay, how do I get my camera back to where I can view the objects that I was working on? This problem is known. We do not know how to do that. Start new project. What? And then the other thing is, I follow Blender YouTubers who make fabulous things on Blender. I have seen some of the greatest people who work with Blender, and it's like, wow, you do a great job. I should really learn how to use Blender. All right, I'm going to... Okay. Yeah. All right, I got to start from a shape. Okay, I'll start from this cube. Now, I'll click on that vertex, because I know I have to click on that. And I just want to stretch the cube. I could have just gone into here and typed in, but no, I can't figure out how that little side of Blender, that little sidebar works, because we got the thingy that says, all right, here's your object, your camera, your light, but each one's in a separate little folder tabby thingy. And they're like parented together now. I don't know how that happened, but they're parented together now. I must have clicked something there. And then we gotta, figure out how I just want to move the face on the fucking square to turn it into a rectangle. Or I want to be able to go, okay, I got the square selected. Okay, I got the square selected. Now I want to just alter the Y direction. Okay, we're going with Y direction. Okay. Now, where do I type in how long I want the Y to be? Oh, yeah, wait, I don't see anything here, but I got to click on, okay, I got to select the object. Okay, I got the object selected. Now I got to figure. Whereas with Maya, I could have just gone like, I'm going to go and I'm going to switch my selection tool to select just faces. All right, I'm going to click this face. Oh, I got a little, and then I'm on the moving tool. So yeah, we're selecting, and we got it told to select faces only. All right, I selected the face I wanted to select, and now we go to move. Oh, look at that. The orientation radical is there. Okay, good. All right, then I just want to click on the XYZ. So we want to click on the Y little arrow, in whatever color it is. Y is red. No, X is red. Y is blue. No, wait. Y is green. Green, blue, green. There's no standardized color system. It's just like that. In fact, in Maya, Z is the vertical offset. And in Blender, I think Z is like the horizontal offset or something like that. No one can figure it out. But, yeah, then, and you just want to be able to click that little arrow and drag the face. I want to drag the face to where I want it to be. All right. Well, that should work, right? I can't figure out how to select the face. It's annoying. Realistically, Blender is good for, this is all you got, it's free, use it. I would love to be able to use it, but its interface and operating methods frustrate the tarnation out of me. I would rather use Maya or ZBrush. ZBrush, I'm not really good at modeling through ZBrush, but I'm better at ZBrush than I am at modeling through Blender, so figure that one out. Though I know Blender now allows similar function to ZBrush now, which is the sculpting stuff. What I'm saying is Autodesk, you're a greedy group of bastards, and I would really love it if you just lower the price from $300 down to like $30. I know you used to do it. You did it. You had a program called Maya LT that was $30. I mean, I know it had restrictions. You cannot commercially profit off of this. You cannot. Do not sell any assets you've made. Which is bullcrap. You can make a light version of Maya for $30 a month. That's all I'm asking for. Bring back Maya LT. I would pay that. Well, I would have to have a job and an income and actually make money. This podcast thing doesn't actually pay. But, I would much rather use Maya LT, which is limited features, limited uses, but same functionality, than use Blender. And that tells you a lot. Now, I'm 100%, I would love to know if anyone else out there in the 3D art world and, modeling and things like that, makes assets for video games or just makes assets for 3D scenes, who has used both Blender and Maya, and tell me which ones they prefer. Which I have to say, Autodesk has a monopoly over 3D modeling programs. Pretty much. Because there's Blender, there's Blender or Maya. Those are your only two options. In fact, there was a third called 3D Max, but guess who bought it? It was Autodesk! I think they still somewhat produce it, but these are your top two choices. Blender, Maya. Now, there's Cinema 4D and Marmoset. Those are more like rendering tools. So I've known a little bit about Cinema 4D. I went to what was it? Gosh, it was, God dang it. It was one of those conferences in San Francisco. I did no tourism in San Francisco while I was there. I literally just walked to the convention and walked back to my hotel. But whatever. I actually went there. I got a trial version of it. It looked cool. I would have loved to actually play around with it and actually got used to using it. But I don't think it had the modeling functions. But then you also have programs that enhance what you're doing. So you have things like Speed Tree, which basically allows you to type in parameters. I need this type of tree, a birch tree with a full canopy and lots of leaves. Okay, Speed Tree goes, all right, let's just run the algorithm. This trunk goes woo-doo-woo. Birch trees are mostly straight, so we just go straight, and then we branch off at the top, and then we got a nice birch tree, and then we put our generic textures on it. Yay, hey, you got a birch tree. All right, that's cool. Yeah, did great. Okay, and then we need to get ourselves oak. Let's go with a white oak. Yep, white oak. There we go. And then we'll just let that tree grow, and there we go. I actually used ZBrush to create a tree, and I got really cool. It was fun looking tree. I mean, I made it so that it once was a big trunk. It was a thick tree. It was thick. Gotta put in those C's for thick. That's how thick it was. And so I was like, you know what? Let's make this tree interesting. So I just sculpted out a divot, sculpted up so it looks like a tree branch was once coming off of it and it had broken off. And I dug out the center of it. Well, I pushed it in, so the thing you do when you're 3D modeling, to make it look like it had a hole in there. And it was like, hey, I could put an owl in there. I could put like pieces of paper in there. It would be really cool. I just needed to, get the branches. I got big branches, all droopy and hangy over. It was definitely a tree that could exist but doesn't. So I got all that done. I lowered the vertice count or whatever it was, the face count, so that it wasn't too big. Brought it into Maya. It was perfectly cool. It looked exactly how I wanted it, so it was easy to do. If I had tried to do something similar to that with Blender, I would have gone nuts. I mean, I've imported program or FBXs into FBX, or was it an OBJ? Whatever file type it was. I imported that into Blender, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. It imports well, and all right, now I'm going to edit this object because, I don't want, because what I imported was a keyboard, because I was thinking, I'm trying to come up with something. I wouldn't like a rattle dropping over top of this keyboard with a mouse and then PlayStation controllers and stuff like that for the Let's Play channel. So I was just looking at it and I'm like, all right, this keyboard is designed terribly. And I don't even know the UVs for it. Let's see if I can edit this. Okay, I don't need this vertex here. This edge line here, this edge loop. That doesn't need to exist. Okay, I can't double click on the edge. Oh, that's right. I have to click the vertices. And then I want to click on edges. Like, I know. I probably could figure it out and, figure out the proper way to do it with all the stuff like that. But it's frustrating. It's like, I can do this in Maya. I know how to do it. I can do it in like 10 seconds. I could actually build the keyboard from scratch. I don't have to import crap. I could just do it from scratch. I could just and done. But with no. That's all it is. In fact, the way I would go about making a keyboard is I would make the keyboard base, the actual rectangle, with all the where the keys go, and then, then just inset where the keys go slightly, because we're going to make a clicky keyboard because that's what people are used to. I hate clicky keyboards. I do not like listening to the clicky springs. I know people are like, but these switches work so much better. Look, it's a cherry switch. I can hit this and I get an immediate response. That's good and all. I'm sure you do. And honestly, switches are better than membranes for keyboards. 100% agree to that. Go for it. But as someone who gets annoyed by sound easily, that type of sound is annoying. Reminds me of middle school. Yeah, we're going to go on keyboard lessons. No clicking your keyboard. But the keys are so clicky. This is the 90s. We don't have membrane keyboards. They just go click, 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 click. Don't be clicking on your keyboard like that. How am I supposed to friggin' type if you don't want sounds of clicking? The way it works is by clicking. Teachers back in the 90s and stuff, they did not know anything about computers. Sorry, I have really just gone off track. But yeah, I would make a keyboard, then I'd make the key itself, just make it what the cap is for the keys. And only slightly inset the surface because, when you're looking at a keyboard, traditionally you have all the keys in a groove where all the thingies are, all the switches. So you can click on them. So you make that little inset. Don't have to go too deep because, the keys on a clicky keyboard, a non-membrane keyboard, one that uses switches, are somewhat big. So you got to what is it? I don't have a ruler, so I can't. It's like a few centimeters, 2 or 3. And height. That's the key. So I would make maybe 1 or 2 shapes of keys. Because generally nowadays, keys come in square and rectangle. That's basically all the keys are. Because the enter key used to be a L shape, a reverse L shape. right? Yeah. A reverse L shape. But, and it was what it said enter, and what was the other thing that was on there? My memory is dying on me. Oh, and then you have the backspace, and occasionally the backspace would be that L shape, so it's like, okay, whatever. So you just make a couple of keys like that, and then you just duplicate the keys and stretch out the things so that they meet the shape of a keyboard, a key. And you're like, no, this is good. And I could have rendered it. I could have gotten everything done. I could have UV'd the entire thing so it would work perfectly. You know, we could get the Q's, the R's, the W's, the X's, the Z's. All the keys could have their own things. In fact, I could also make it so that the color, the lights, because I have a Razer mouse, and, you know, the Razer's emblem glows, it fades, and then comes back. For a school project, I decided, I'll just model a mouse like that. And so I modeled the mouse that I generally use. And like, okay, I got this symbol that's supposed to light up and glow, and it's supposed to fade and glow. And I asked the teacher, is there a way for me to do that? He's like, I don't know how to do that. By the way, this was the chair of the animation department. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to figure out my own way to do that. Well, what I did is I made the face with the symbol on it so that the actual glowy part was transparent, and I attached a light to a flat plane inside, and it was a very, very dim light, so it didn't put off too much light. And I just had, in the animation, it would go up and down inside the mouse, just enough to where that light would fade to black, to where you couldn't see it anymore. And then you'd go back up, and the light would come back, and then you just go back up and down, up and down. And I did it in a way where I could isolate the other glowy bits of the mouse, which was the number pad, because it has a number pad for the thumb. So those didn't actually dim. So I just had those glowing, and it's like, I know how to do this. I know how to problem solve. Why can't I problem solve Blender? All right, but since I'm by myself for this, I've talked about 22 minutes or so, 23 minutes is probably going to be 25 by the time I actually finish this wrapping up. Talking about it. So please comment if you are a 3D animator or student or whichever, or you do 3D animation as a hobby or whatever. That's perfectly fine. More power to you. Do you think Blender's way of doing things is a good way of doing things? Or is it just that you've only used Blender and so you don't know how to use anything else? Or on the Versa side, am I just wrapped up in, I learned Maya, I know how to use Maya, I can use Maya, I just am frustrated about trying to learn a new program? Is that my fault? Is that the flaw I'm dealing with? Or do you think that, yes, there's a vast difference between the way they operate? All right. So, thank you much for listening, watching, whatever you do. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever it is that the platform of your choice does. And until... Wait, that's... What? You know what? Leave a comment. Thank you very much, and goodbye.